So today we have our three guests from Style Dynasty, and they are all from Assassins. Yeah, and so today we're gonna start asking them some questions and how they feel about this trip to Taiwan. Can you guys introduce yourself first?
My name is Rashaad Hasani, and I'm from New York City, but live in Washington, D.C. now. And our crew is the Assassins, Warriors of Light.
I'm Ryan. My artist name is Future. I'm from Washington, D.C. I grew up in Northern Virginia. Been in the Assassins since 2008. Yeah, just a mover.
My name is Andy Yacinthe. I'm from Montreal, Canada. Part of the Assassins since 2015. So I've been here for 2 years. Mover, dancer, multidisciplinary artist.
Because we had this event called Style Dynasty, and it was inspired by Monstapop's event called Jack of All Trades. So can you please share a little bit the idea and the concept behind why you did this event, Jack of All Trades?
First, the name Jack of All Trades is a name that was given to me before, slightly as a joke. So now we're talking about 2007 with a dancer called Jean-François Saint-Onge. His name is JF. He's the person that introduced Venom into popping. So JF, with him, we used to practice in session, and also with Venom. And I was often the dancer that was interested in trying to do different things, right? Jeff had a certain set of skills where he was really good at. Venom has a certain set of skills where he was really good at, and I was often trying to, touch different things. Not because I was great in different things, but I was just interested in doing different things. So that name started from there, the Jack of all trades, and then from that, I was like, one day I would like to create a dance event, a dance concept, which would be related to that idea of when I was with Jeff and Venom and sessioning. And that's it. So the reason why I created this event is because I felt there was a certain lack in the community, I would say, or in that kind of circuit of event where different dance styles, the dance approach were empowered. Were not empowered. I feel like that's what was missing. You would have somebody that's, let's say, for example, really dope in tutting, but wouldn't necessarily pass a prelim or won't be put to light because the dance event is strictly a popping event in a strictly popping mentality, right? And I just wanted to open doors and create more freedom, and also myself as a dancer, I kind of encountered a bit of those difficulty being in events, knowing that I love doing different things. I felt like what I did wasn't as well received, knowing that I was moving differently, knowing that I was approaching the dance from different avenues and different styles. I felt my approach was not necessarily put to light, and I just wanted to empower other dancers that might encounter that same kind of problem. To make it quick, that's what it is. That's the reason why.
Speaking of Jack of all trades, I know that Rashaad and Future in DC, you also have an event called the Book of Styles. Could you guys tell us a little bit about your event?
Yeah, so it's actually very similar to Andy's story about Jack of all trades. I was often someone interested in multiple styles of movement. It's the direction that our mentor, Junius Brickhouse, always pushed us in, be three-dimensional. Don't be a one-way cat. And so sometimes when I would go and compete in events, I would do things that I knew people wanted to see from me or trying to fit in some way. He would say to let that go sometimes and show more range, do other things. In particular, we were out at this local bar / club where we knew the DJ. We were playing music, and he sat me down and he was basically talking to me about doing these things. As he's talking, I understood it, but I needed to digest it. It didn't take me too long. I literally sat in this club for an hour just sitting there thinking, what am I supposed to do? How do I do it? And then I got up and I started dancing, and I just started trying to connect everything. And he was like, yep, That's it. And gave me like the head nod of approval, you know. And for me, when he does things like that, I know it's like he's setting me up for a long-term thing, you know. Like he really, his foresight is like the way he can like see the future and make you think about longevity and be 30 years down the line is really important for me as an artist and for us in our group. So the Book of Styles, the name comes from my favorite artist, Nasir Jones. He's from the projects that my family grew up in Long Island City or in Queens, called Queensbridge houses. So I always felt like quite connected to him. He has a song called My Book of Rhymes, and so I basically took the rhymes out and put styles on it. And it's really cool, this concept, because he kind of goes back and he's flipping. You can hear in the song him flipping through the pages and landing on one and going, "What's this?" And then he'll spit what he reads there, and then he'll be like, "Whoa, wow, I was really whacked then. All right, let me find another one." And he's just like, look at all these things, look at his catalog of words that he's put on paper and documented. And I feel the same way about my interest in movement. Like, I have so much stuff that I'm interested in and I have documented or trained in my head, and I just want to put it out. And in the events, you feel kind of closed and boxed in sometimes. So Book of Styles was also our way of trying to honor and celebrate all of the communities that contributed to creating what we know as boogalooing, popping, pop locking, bopping, electric boogie, the Smurf, body popping, and so on and so on today. So we don't want any community to be left out. So when you come to our event, this is what this is about. We started doing it as an event in, I think, 2012, where we started using a wheel concept called the Wheel of Funk, where basically we put the different styles on the wheel, we spin it, whatever it lands on, the dancers have to stay in dialogue, exchange, or compete against each other in that one style. We've also did it a little bit different a couple times where we put music genres on the wheel that are all related to funk. So P-funk, boogie funk, future, modern funk, G-funk, electro. We put some hip-hop because, of course, hip-hop sampled a lot of funk music. And then we have also like a monkey wrench round, which our DJ Baronhawk gets to choose what genre he thinks needs to kind of test the dancer, but it's not so off the wall where like it's not in context with the dance anymore. So it still will make you feel like you need to bust a move. So that's a little bit about Book of Styles.
So, if I'm not mistaken, so Jack of All Trades was happening in Montreal, and the Book of Styles was happening in DC, sort of like at the same time.
Book of Style came a year before, if I'm not mistaken. And as weird as it is, I remember I wrote a message to Rashaad who was doing the event. I was like, all right, cool. Finally, I'm going to do this concept.
Yeah.
that I always had. I was like, okay, let me do this concept. What? Book of Style? I was like, yeah, Rashaad has an event. And then I checked it. I was like, oh, snap. Rashaad is doing a concept that is similar. So from there, like, we spoke to each other and that's it. But it was slightly, it was Book of Style that came before, a year before.
So does that connection have anything to do with Monster joining the crew, or?
So we've known Monstapop for a long time. Not super well, but we've been crossing paths through events, jams, clubs, like just everything for years. I think 2005 or 6 was the first time. I think we always had certain things in common. We just hadn't really realized it until recently. So we were crossing paths, like we had seen him. We had gotten down in the same spaces, but not really gotten to know each other. Around 2014, I think, when you went to Jack of All Trades to judge, I know you guys, like, he invited Rashaad because of the similar ideas of the Book of Styles, and Monstapop had also said, like, he had respected some of the things we were doing down in DC and wanted to keep us involved. So they got a little bit closer at that time. And then 2015, when we were both there for Pop in Progress, then we also started to talk more and realize that there was a huge like-mindedness. It was at the end of 2015 that you joined when we had you down for the Feel Good
In September.
in September. In our group, the Assassins, it's not cliquish and it's not about who's really dope. You know, it's not like an all-star crew. It's like a family friend first type of crew. For us, it's about longevity. So like we're trying to link with the people that we want to build long-term relationships with. And the goal isn't to be the coolest and get the most views or to like win the most battles. It's about cultural work. He was doing that, we were doing that. It's about education, educational events, teaching methods. He was doing that, we were doing that. It's about being open, being three-dimensional as movers. So basically we had a lot of things in common. Like I was saying, we do a lot of cultural work. We do a lot of things involving education, so educational events, Book of Styles, Jack of all trades. These are ways to educate dancers and help them to grow in different ways. The idea of just being open-minded and being three-dimensional. And I think these are principles that Monsta shared as well as us. So like I was saying, we're also just movers and dancers. We're not just boogaloos. We're not just poppers. Like, we're open to many styles of movement, like, and many things in general in life. So it was about having the same sort of event, but it was so much more than that too. Because just on a human level, there was like a proper connection and some things where we were like, yeah, we can build with this person, you know. He would be a great addition to the group, and we think we can help him with some things as well.
I think the other important thing to learn here with us is that we had some moments where we didn't know if we got along or not. Like, this is also really important to share because it shows like how human we are and how when we just stop for a moment and we sit and have a conversation, like, then you'll find out more than what you assumed, you know? And I know I had some assumptions. And actually, that's what our conversation was about when we talked about Jack of all trades and Book of Styles. I was kind of like, wait, what? What you mean you got an event? You know, like I was a little hesitant, you know, it's just, yeah. So, but we spoke about it, and then he was like, I think that it helped us. It helped us to let that go and for us to move forward together. And I think it's really important, you know, it's the thing we battle in this scene a lot, in our community, in the world, you know, where people just need to recognize that we do have a lot of similarities, and it's okay. And sometimes we're not going to always get along, but we should take steps to try to figure out why not, and let's get solutions to change that. And Jack of all trades is a solution to change the status quo. Book of Styles is a solution. And if we put that together, like quality thoughts and quality thinkers, you know, we can affect a lot of things. It's not for us, you know. Like, we are literally taking what we do, our personal stories, our practices, our very internal things, and we're saying, let's give this away, you know, because the people who gave it to us were selfless enough to let us do what we needed to do with it. So we have to do the same for other people.
Actually, what you guys are doing abroad has been an inspiration for our crew, Flavor Bots, and also Rhythm Space. Like, what we're doing in Taiwan is we're also trying to push for like education, cultural, and to create like a style diversity. So bringing interview back to Style Dynasty and your trip to Taiwan this time, are there any like afterthoughts or things that you would like to say to the dancers in Taiwan?
What I appreciated from Style Dynasty is that I saw different movers, right? And of course, there is a similarity of style or approach, or like a certain quality or color, you know, of way of moving. But what I appreciated is the fact that I saw dancers taking risks, you know. I saw dancers being put into a certain challenge and taking it full on. For example, what's the name again of the dancer to whom I gave the OY, exactly. Yeah, I remember his movement, and the reason why is because I remember he was put into a situation like in Tuts and Lines. He didn't take the concept literally. He's like, all right, you know, maybe tutting is not something for me, but he went full on with the line idea, right? Start pulling out toy men's funky ways of moving, stabbing, pulling, moving in certain ways that that people wouldn't necessarily think of moving when they think of tuts and lines. Often people will just go straight to, all right, let me do some tuts, right? So that's what I was able to see from the event. That also people that were courageous enough to be vulnerable, to say, you know what, I'm maybe not good at this, but I'm gonna try. You know, example. Let's talk about JG. JG was there. He was judging, and his particular approach is within the electric boogaloo. You know, does it well, and decided to take the risk. He's like, you know what? I'll take the risk. I know that I might fall into tuts and line or some ramen effects or some pop hits hard dimes and stuff or some undulation, but I'm still gonna try it. Right? I'm gonna push. I'm gonna be vulnerable. So I raise my hat to all the dancers that were there at Style Dynasty for doing that. Yeah.
I think I'll just add a couple things, some of my thoughts. I think the first thing is that it's just dope that that event is happening here. So respect to you guys for also taking a risk, being vulnerable, and also trying to push on education and some of these like really important principles. So just the fact that the event is happening and that many people showed up, to me, like I don't know if those were the numbers you guys expected, but to me, there was a lot of people there that are seeing different things that can be inspired by this event. So I think that is already amazing in itself, that the event is around and that it has good, what I consider really good numbers. And even if it doesn't have a lot of people, sometimes it's just about the quality people. And you definitely had quality people at this event. There's definitely people here in Taiwan that are embracing the tradition of being themselves, of originality, of being more fearless towards standing out in a different way. And I saw that a lot in the student category and the jack of all trades category. So I was really impressed by especially the people taking those risks. I think it was really interesting, like during the jack of all trades event, I felt an energy changing in the room. I felt people getting like more in and kind of like getting really excited to see what's this challenge, what's going to happen. And the cool thing about Jack of all trades and Book of Styles is that it's educational for the audience. To me, it's actually very important, not only for the dancers to train for that, but also the audience now gets to be educated on what's happening, right? Because otherwise they're like, they might not understand puppet or a Fresno or a walkout or a tut. They're just seeing, you know, people that aren't poppers or dancers, they're just watching it. But you could feel everybody was engaged because everybody's like, oh, they've explained the concept to me and now they're going to try to do it. And then they could see two people try to do that concept. So it makes it more understandable for everyone in the room. And it creates that dialogue where people are exchanging. So I felt the energy building. And I think also just the idea of, well, we talk about it a lot with boogalooing and popping, is like being childlike. And to be childlike, you take a lot of risks. You don't really care what anybody thinks, you know. But that's what was so fun about it, and I think people were captivated by that energy of like, oh, they're just gonna do some crazy lines, or oh, this guy's gonna go down on the ground and like lay on his back and do something. And something about that energy is really fun to soak in and be around. So I thought that was really nice to see people taking that challenge, and it was a dope venue too. Little club lighting, little bar, little motorcycles and stuff on the side. It felt nice and intimate, so I appreciated that about it as well. Yeah, it was a good time. Thank you guys for having us and for doing a dope event.
Earlier, Rashaad, when you were talking about Book of Styles, you mentioned like pop locking, bopping, popping, strutting, these terms, right? So for us, people living in Asia who are trying to learn about the dance, these terms oftentimes confuse us. You know, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of questions from students asking you on this trip as well, like what is pop locking, what is bopping, you know, is strutting, popping, you know, all these kind of questions. Could you give us any advice on how we should go about in terms of like understanding these terms and these styles?
That's a really good question. I also was once confused why there's so many names. And when we started doing research, what we found is that the names, it's kind of like the telephone game that we play, you know? If one person passes down a message, by the time it comes down to the end, it's usually changed. Sometimes in between there, people are irresponsible with the message. Sometimes people try to be responsible. But when we're thinking about the 70s and or even the mid 60s, you know, when Boogaloo came about in Oakland, a lot of these terms that came afterward were because a lot of people didn't know that things were always happening in other places. They were so isolated. So you might see someone dance at a club or at a talent show or something, and you would take it back to where you're from, and you would build on the inspiration that you got from this one time that you saw it. And as a kid, you're going to name it something that feels right for you. It's just what we do. We try to create a vocabulary that works culturally in our community, and it's very isolated. Language has there's so many different languages and dialects, like even here, you know, as we're listening to people talk, like some people don't sound the same, you know, or even in English, you know, someone from New York sounds very different from someone way down in Atlanta. It's still English, you know, but the words are manipulated, the twang on it, what people call flavor and or style. And so everyone has a different approach to the dance, just the same, you know. So a lot of those terms became umbrella terms for their communities, which is totally okay. I think when we only learn that there's one ultimate way of like a style or way of thinking, then it's hard to see that there's multiple things, you know, because you get so closed into this concept. It's just not true, you know. Humans are humans, and we're always trying to create things, and we're always trying to create habits of comfort. And style names are comfort. It's a way for us to build inside a system. So we have to be responsible when we go into these communities and not expect them to change how they teach it, change how they've been doing it, because we don't do it and say it the same, you know? And I think this is the rough part, you know? This is where the confusion lies. Because you go into someone else's house and you say, hey, I don't do it that way, so you're wrong. And this is colonizing. This is control. This isn't being open to the idea that, hey, I don't do it that way, but I have something that's similar to this, and it looks like this, and I call it that. And then you go, oh, cool. Well, we call it something different. The other part of this is because there was so much competition, you know? So if you're competing against someone, why would I be so nice, you know? Like, I want to hold my crown. I want to be like, yo, our crew is the best at this. And back then, that's how people were inspiring each other, was being the best at something, you know, standing out. So it pushed them to be individuals. It pushed them to be creative. It's where all these different names come from, you know. Look at the music. The music's the same. There's so many different sounds of funk music. James Brown sounds so different compared to Sly and Family Stone, compared to George Clinton, compared to Slave, compared to the Ohio Players, compared to Zapp and Roger. All these sounds are different, you know. And some people might call it P-Funk. Some people call it, you know, just funk. Some people call it soul, and there's a lot of names. It's just good music, and the dance is just good dance. It's just stuff that makes you feel good, you know. So we don't need to always group it up and this is all called this. Well, we don't have to do that. Let's let these things be separate sometimes too, so that they can shine on their own, you know. Like, yeah. Sorry, I'm starting to get into it, so my hand is sweating.
The sweet sauce spaghetti. During Style Dynasty, the judge demo, you two did like this routine, strutting routine. So I personally have like this question, because Rashaad and Future, you two seem like even in workshops, when you hear a song, and you guys can like somehow like connect to each other and start doing like similar things. Is this because I'm just guessing? Is this because you guys like practice a lot together, or like when you guys like come up like with routines, even when Rashad's doing his workshop, when you forget something, you can just go ask Future, and Future helps you out. Oh, you did this and that. So does your training or does how does this actually happen?
I'll start with that one. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Sometimes I'm unaware of how that might seem to other people because I'm just so used to it. To make it super simple, we're just connected on a human level. Like Rashaad's my best friend, but there are some other reasons. In 2006, I came back home from school and I spent the summer at home. We're both from the East Coast, but I lived in Northern Virginia and he was living in DC.
I was in Virginia.
You were in Virginia?
Mhm.
So 2006, that summer was the first time we got to train together. And this is also the summer that Rashaad became my mentor. And for us, that doesn't just mean he was teaching me dance moves. That means more like a mentor is someone that is impacting your personal life and uplifting you. You know, so guidance in many areas outside of movement, cipher culture, confidence, originality, like courageousness, all these different things. So along with that mentorship came a lot of foundational movement too. He was teaching me a lot of basics. And through the years, in the beginning, I think he was inspiring me a lot more. And now I'm sure I inspire him as well. And it kind of works back and forth, you know. Still teaching me a lot outside of popping, other styles, hip hop, locking. The only thing I got is juking. I got juking. He let me take juking. I ran with that. Um, but you know, since then I became Assassins in 2008, and we've just been from 2006 until now. It's been like go go go. It's been nonstop. Like we learned in all the styles. We have similar foundational movement. We have similar inspiration. So we've learned a lot from Damon. We have foundational moves from Damon. We have foundational moves from Steen, from Thomas, from Pop Tart, from Junius, Rashaad's mentor. And so we're able to just tune in at any time, like Ganag's theater show, slow motion, Steen tick walks, like Damon layout waves, Damon torpedoes, okay, Electric Boogaloo Foundation. And so we know all the same standard sets of traditions. So we can tune into that at any time. But also when you see us move individually, it's completely different. We don't move the same because we interpret music very different. We prefer different things, you know. But again, like the mentorship had that in it. It was about the tradition of being yourself. So he was also teaching me to embrace that side of me. So we have the team and we have the individuals. But because of the years, because of the friendship, because of how close we are as people, I mean, we dance together all the time. We work together through urban artistry, and we talk every day, pretty much every day. Unless our girlfriends are in town, then we don't. Then we go like 3-4 days and might not talk. But yeah, so I think it's just a human connection first. Like I said with the Assassin's Crew, it's about people building, connecting people. You know, the movement is just secondary for us.
A big thing is who would I be without someone next to me to help grow with me, right? Like this is such a sometimes selfish community. When we're talking about being individual, like people take that literally. Yeah, be an individual, but don't forget your community. Don't forget you got to bring someone up. You know, don't forget you got to be under someone. And this is how you carry on legacy. So House is Junius. His name is, or last name is Brickhouse, but we call him House. So I'm going to just start calling him House. But what he did for me was so impactful. What he did for the Washington, D.C. community, or D.C., Maryland, Virginia, was so huge that like I just wanted to follow in those footsteps. When I didn't have any money, and he'd go, hey, we're going to go out. And I go, oh, I can't afford it. I didn't ask you that. Let's go. Oh, you want to go to Boston for this jam? Yeah, I can't afford it. I didn't ask you that. And he would pay for me to go. This is so far from movement. He sees something in you and he wants to invest as a friend. You know, he wants to help you make it someplace, and he wants to do that with you. And this is important. So this is the same thing that I tried to do with Ryan, who we try to do with our students and whoever we come in contact with. It's like, let's be completely open to the relationship and what it can be. And the dance is such a small part of who we are. It's what brought us together, but it isn't what makes us. It's where we want to go mentally. It's where our hearts are, and us taking this long, hard road, you know. But it's easier to travel on that distance when you got team, and that's what Assassins and urban artistry is all about. You know, we're warriors of light. We fight for what we believe, and we fight to keep team together. And it gets hard. It is not an easy thing. Like, there were times where we also didn't get along, and I was like, man, forget this dude. And the same for me. My personality can be really strong for people sometimes, you know. And they're like, damn, dude, I forget this guy. Like, it's too much, you know. And I get that. So I know when I need to turn it down, but I also do it so that people need to bring it up, you know, put some fire in them. You know, and I do it to myself. Like, I sound like a tough guy and all that, dude, but I hurt, man. You know, but I want to hurt with my brothers and sisters, like, and I want to love with them too. And that's what this is. So that's what people see when we're teaching. That's what you see when we line up. When we saw Pop Tart, A1, and Harry Berry, PT3000, or originally Demons of the Mind, perform at Mighty 4 in 2008, and they were like super close. You know, I had never seen it live before, but to see those brothers connect the way they did, and it was like, man, my mouth was on the floor. I was in awe, and I wanted to carry that. I wanted to do that too. And we were like, every time we went out, line up, let's go. And we're trying to figure it out, you know, and we were whack, you know. We had these really rusty moments in the beginning, but that's the learning process. But the more we did it, the more we spent time together, the more we talked, the more we experienced, the more we failed, the more we succeeded. Like, all of these things like helped us to get where we are right now. And I look forward to, again, the next 30 years. I'm into that foresight stuff too. Juniors ain't the only one.
So this question is about our scene in Taiwan. So there are a lot of people who believe that popping for them is, you know, like a happy-go-lucky. You know, just do what you feel like is right. And that's all it is to the dance. And there are other folks who are more trying to learn about the culture and the history. So it's kind of like two sides, two separate different perspectives and opinions. Basically, it's tradition versus innovation. You know, certain people, they're just trying to do what they feel like is cool and right, and they're trying to like make something new. And then there are the other part that are trying to like look into history and like find the roots. You know, there's a lot of arguments that sort of happen within our scene. So I was just wondering if you guys have any thoughts or advice for our scene.
Tradition versus innovation. They're both tradition. Like, it's one and the same. Like, groups had steps that they used together. When they separated, they each had styles that they felt like brought out their personality. That was them innovating on collective steps, right? Creepin' Sid, Robot Dane, Poppin' Pete, Boogaloo Sam, Boogaloo Dan, you know, Chuck, Kearney, Pop Tart, or the Fillmore Kid, Monty from the Monty Mechanical Midgets, Damon Frost, Boogaloo Vic, Mr. Fantastic. They all had individuality. They were all trying to innovate. This was tradition. Having steps that you do in routine together was also tradition. This is stuff that you can teach and be in sync. That's okay too. Everybody has that. So I don't see those two things as an argument. I see them as a lack of education. I see it as a lack of information being sourced through Taiwan that shows that there's diversity in movement, that you can have multiple ways to do it. There are multiple traditions, you know. So I don't see those things as different. You know, you have to do both. They're already in the dance. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Like, it's kind of strange.
I guess I'll refer a little bit to the first part where you mentioned some people are more happy-go-lucky about it, and some people are more into the culture and the tradition. I mean, the thing for me, like, a lot, just speaking as an American, as like a white American, there's a lot of history with white Americans taking from black culture and monopolizing off of it. Minstrel shows, artists like Elvis Presley. The list goes on and on and on. So for me, like, something that I was blessed enough information-wise to receive is like the idea of respecting culture, respecting history, and why that's important. Sometimes when we're from outside of a culture and we do something that's just aesthetically pleasing and it looks cool and it's, well, I use your happy-go-lucky, I think I'm onto what you're saying with that. It's hard to tell someone that that's a bad thing. Some people, you can dance for fun and it cannot be about the culture, like, that's cool. But it's another thing if you know that there's history and there's culture behind these things and you neglect that information and you say, no, I'm not going to learn more about this thing because I'm making money off of it this way, or I just think it's more fun this way, right? That's stripping the culture from a thing. And in the States, I don't know if you guys have this term, we call that cultural appropriation, right? When you neglect the cultural side of something, like in Halloween, there's people that wear like Indian, Native American feathers, but that in certain tribes, that's something that only the chief could wear because it was something spiritual. So these dances that we're talking about, African American traditional dance of boogalooing and popping, these are spiritual dances. These are cultural dances. These are the things that lifted people's spirits. This was a part of their everyday life, their culture. It's what got them through the day. It's what gave them confidence. It's that what empowered them in a country where they felt powerless because of the system. Slavery, into Jim Crow, into minstrelsy, into separate but equal. Brown versus Board of Education, the last state to get rid of that was Alabama in 1973. And before that was Memphis, Tennessee in like 69, you know? So schools were still segregated in the 70s. And even if you look at the places where people live in cities, it's still all segregated. So our country is segregated and people fight to respect each other's cultures. But what happens is people become very closed. They can't connect on a human level because they're not open to the way that these people think and why they might think like that and why they did what they did. The why is the important thing, you know? So it is very important to recognize the culture and the history. I recommend going to those locations where the dances were created and done, meeting some of the people. That's what I did with Memphis Jukin. My mentor is Dr. Rico. I went there in 2010, and we had a mutual exchange. And I didn't just take, he's also an assassin, so we still work together. You know, there's ways to go about learning culture, you know. Sometimes you need gateway folks. We can be gateway people, but we're always going to be like, yo, what about Pop-Tart? Or what about Damon? Or what about this guy? Like, how can we include the legacy, you know, and get people to feel more of that culture? So I don't think it's something that we should scold people and say, oh, that's not, you don't care about the culture, you're just dancing for fun. But to be like, to hint things and be like, hey, like, have you seen this guy? Did you know that dance came from this place? Do you know about that place? Like, these types of questions just create a conversation where you can open people up to those things that kind of can make people feel a little uncomfortable about opening up to new things or this new information or this new culture. But I think you take it one step at a time and ask questions in a way that seems like it's coming from a friend and not someone telling you, oh, you got to do this or you got to do that. I think that can be helpful.
Okay, so we got like 3 questions for each of you. Start from Monster. So, like, what this trip to Taiwan, you mentioned that Taiwan food is like really dope. So, what is your favorite food in Taiwan?
The dumplings to the studio. Yeah, two boxes of those.
水煎包 the
Yeah, I
dumpling.
actually wanted to have some this morning too, but
Oh,
it wasn't possible.
So good.
yeah.
Dumplings. Yesterday, Pax and myself went back to the pork rice spot. The you remember what? Yeah, the pork rice.
Oh,
Yeah,
卤肉饭卤肉饭
Yeah, the robab. Exactly that one, right?
肉霸分
Am I forgetting one? What else? Oh yeah. And we went back to that place again. Yeah, yeah, the oven thing in the basement.
铁板烧
Yeah, we went back
Yeah.
again. Yeah, me and Pax went back there. Yeah, so it's basically everything I ate. Yeah, closely. The only thing is, I won't say it. There's just one thing that I can't try though. There's one thing I can't I can't do it. This sticky tofu, I can't do it. But I can't do it.
So Ryan, what's your favorite and least favorite food in Taiwan?
Favorite is the teppanyaki.
Teppanyaki.
Yeah, that
wow.
was my favorite.
Wow.
Teppanyaki was it was the best meal I've had in Southeast Asia. It was, yeah. The worst was something that I refused to eat. Okay, the worst was stinky tofu. I had it. It tasted like there was a sewer in my mouth. It was rotted sewage. But the worst thing I saw someone eat was a chicken testicle.
Oh.
And when they bit it, it exploded. It was disgusting. And they were smiling while they did it. It was an experience I'll never forget. That was the worst of the worst. You guys eat some interesting stuff out here. Large intestines, chicken testicles. Fuck. I don't know how you guys do it.
Okay.
Same question.
No, yours is
Man. Okay.
What's your favorite drink in Taiwan?
I knew it was coming. And trying to set me up. I don't know how to say that drink. It's like 58%. What is
高粱
Gaolian? I just know it is 58. I'm gonna call it 58. Yo, that I can't. That is not my favorite drink. No, but it is a drink that I drink too much of. Is that really the question that you want to ask? God, that's fucked up. All right.
All right, favorite food.
Nah. You can't save this.
Okay.
I'm gonna get y'all. I'm gonna put that on the camera, and I ain't gonna forget, and they ain't gonna forget neither. No. But my favorite food actually was the same, that teppanyaki,
Teppanyaki.
the fish. Oh, but the way that these guys were cooking in front of us, like they were like in it, boys, sweating. Oh, so nice. But the guapao is really good
guapao.
too. And then the mango snow ice thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
绵绵冰
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Was my favorite. The mango shaved ice with the mango ice cream and the little white foamy
Looking into
liquid
the camera.
thing. And the shaved ice. It just melted apart. It was flakes.
yeah.
It was like eating snowflakes.
Yeah.
Mango snowflakes. That was the best. The best.
No, the beef noodles were good too.
noodles. Yeah, beef noodles.
I mean, it's not food, but it's like the original bubble tea. It's really simple, but
OG bubble tea.
OG, what we call oba, you know, the OG bubble tea, right?
No, not that one. The milk tea.
The milk tea, the
OG
pearl milk tea,
bubble
the original one. Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you guys for coming to Taiwan. You guys have any shout outs too?
This is Hot 97. Yo, I want to give a shout out to my. No, thank you, Flavorbots, for bringing us here. You know, like this was nice. Like Nick and me have been building. I was here before, 3 years ago?
Yeah,
And this is when we met. Yeah, for real. But we've been connecting via Skype and Facebook and talking and keeping the relationship going. So it's also a big part of why we're here too. But yeah, like I shout out to you guys. Keep going so we can, let's keep doing what we're doing together. Boom!